Another Askari Cast. My name is Rod Van Blake of the Ancient Illumination series as well as the Young Chronicles, and I'm joined once again by Jordan Purnell Jackson.
Hey everybody.
He is the creator of Eve of Insurrection and Eve of Reclamation. He is also the digital artist for the Ancient Illumination graphic novels as well as the comics for Young Chronicles. We are also joined by Jocelyn Short.
Hey.
She is a concept artist and the creator of Bearers. So there will be links to everybody's website to check out their artwork as well as my books and Jordan's comics if you're interested in that. We are back again to talk about some Secret Invasion. Episode 2, spoilers. If you have not watched these first two episodes, Samuel Jackson reprises his role as Nick Fury. We open this episode up with some flashbacks, which was kind of interesting. We flash back to 1995 Nick Fury. We get basically another Talos Nick Fury intro, some recap of the Kree Skrull War, and the tie-in to Captain Marvel as well, because you see, I forget the other Rambo. Basically,
Monica Rambo's mom?
Monica Rambeau's mom basically saying that the Skrull aren't going to be safe here. When they're having dinner, they flash back to one of those moments. Then we go to 1997 to give us some more context. We get to see where Fury meets Gravik for the first time as a child. Also, Vara, another Skrull who will come into play a little later. Let's see, yeah. And we get that promise. This episode, I believe, is titled "Promises," and we see Fury promises to find them a home, and we get this young, resourceful fighter who basically sees his people roped into service for nothing in return. Basically, at least I think that's what Gravitz sees it as. Like, you basically pimped us out, is what I'm thinking. And is it just me, or was Talos putting a little too much on Nick Fury when he kind of gives his intro? Like that whole "I trust this man."
Oh yes. Yes.
He was doing a little too much, I
He's
think.
like, I trust this if I could trust anybody, this black man right here. I trust him. Everyone, let it be known. I trust him. Like, okay, Talos. Okay, buddy, we get it. We get it.
Yeah, he was setting him up for a fall because if anything goes wrong with this deal, and you say I don't say that word lightly, and then everybody just sitting there looking stupid in that little room in London, and basically they're being asked to assimilate into society, which is a
Yes.
common theme with immigration here,
Yep.
even currently, where you're expected to learn the language and basically duck your head down and get in line and toe the line and act as we are, do as we are, become one of us, basically, for the time being. Except for he's having them do it for his own purposes, basically. You help us, we help you. And that's kind of a rough one, I think.
Yeah, I was when they kind of I don't know, this episode kind of highlights something that's always kind of like an interesting contradiction of like how Nick Fury is a black man in America, but he's also kind of like in a way when he's trying to get them to work, the scroll to adapt and assimilate, it's kind of a reminder like he kind of is a representation of America still at the same time. Like you have to assimilate or you have to fit in or blend in, and it kind of sucks. But I was like, yeah, Nick, I need what you know what you're trying to do, but this isn't right. And this
Yeah.
is of course going to bites him in the ass in the long run. But
Mm.
It's very wild. It's very wild based on the train conversation.
oh,
Yeah,
that
that
touch.
comes later though. Yeah, this breaking up because we end that scene on keep your word and I'll keep mine. And then they basically zoom in on young Gravik's face. And then we,
I
after
love
that,
that moment.
yeah, we flash forward to the aftermath in Moscow. Like you see the young Gravik, the young scroll, and then you see him in disguise as a human. His face, like, yeah,
I did
that
that.
promise didn't hold up. So
I like that transition, by the way,
I'm gonna do
from
what
like
I have to do. We see the revolutionary scroll that gets captured shouting, "I'm an American!" as he's getting arrested. He's in disguise as a human, uh, and I'm wondering if all that was planned, like because they're trying to pin
What,
this
the
as,
scroll? Yeah.
Yeah.
because he's posing as this like kind of nutwing, conservative group person, Americans against Moscow. That's whose body he took. But I didn't know. I don't think they planned for him to get captured, though. Did it? Did you think that was part of the plan?
I think so.
That was part of the plan.
Yeah, I think, or I don't actually know if him getting captured was a part of the plan, but maybe it was a considered contingency. Like if
Yeah.
he did get captured, he was gonna scream, "I'm an American,"
Yeah.
to
Which is
like,
very deliberate and
yeah,
specific.
yeah. Because I
Very
mean,
deliberate. Yeah, you see how easily Talos, disguised as a Russian, was able to pick up Nick Fury and snatch him away.
Yeah, I didn't see that
Why
coming.
weren't the other Skrulls able to snatch their homeboy up, disguised as one of the other Russians in the area, and whisk him off before he gets taken to the meat grinder?
I
So
think he had to get caught for a reason and to push the story forward. But I knew somebody was going to get caught anyway.
yeah.
yeah,
And then we get to the part, Jocelyn, you were referring to this train ride to Warsaw from Moscow, where we see Talos cover for him,
mhm.
disguised as a Russian woman. Basically, there were huge like behind the scenes joke. When he asked about some American black man, and she's like, "We're better. You have a bigger chance of seeing some alien than
Yeah,
you
they
do
saying
a black
crazy stuff.
American running around." What were you gonna say, Jocelyn?
I was just gonna say, um, that whole conversation from earlier where, he's like, you can trust him, and Fury is basically promising, like, yeah, well, I'll get you refuge, as long as you do this thing I need you to do. But then this train conversation happens, basically where the scroll, what's his name? What's that scroll?
Talos.
Talos.
Talos. Okay.
Talos.
Where he basically is like, was really good, like, hello, and he called him out on the fact that he, like, yes, he was snapped, but when he came back, he just dipped. But also, like, Nick Fury basically didn't even believe that it could be possible to house them in the first place. Like,
Well, that
just,
wasn't the plan, though.
I thought
We
that,
ain't talk about this. That's how he was acting.
That
That
wasn't
was
the plan. And he didn't. Number one, I think before we even get to that, it was hilarious that Fury butters him up with childhood stories before ripping into him.
living in
Me and my grandma used
segregation.
to play this game. Tell me something that I don't know,
No.
and ask me about little Susie. He butters him up first, then rips into him like, "You want to go a few rounds? Tell me something I don't know about the destruction of Skrullos."
fun
And
fact.
yeah, you're right. He does bring all that up.
Yeah, fun fact, Samuel L. Jackson in an interview, he talks about how that conversation where he was talking, that tell me something I don't know,
Mhm.
where he's talking about the train ride from what
Or was it Warsaw?
yeah, some what
It's a train ride.
well the childhood train ride he's referencing, either it's from Detroit or something,
Yes, he did say that.
to DC. He was like that was authentic to his childhood.
Nice.
Because he would
Nice.
Yeah, because he would go back and forth between Detroit and or Tennessee rather,
Mhm.
and Washington DC. So
Yeah. So basically, Talos comes clean about the million scroll march that happened from when Skrullos got destroyed. All of them are here. And Nick Fury's like, wait a minute, what you mean all of them are here?
What?
Like, all of them here. Yeah, and you're right, Jocelyn. He does not think that they can assimilate and just coexist. And because Fury's right, he's like, we can't even coexist with ourselves.
and I'm like,
Facts,
you're
facts.
right, but like, why did we do all this? Like,
What, the helping of them in general,
yeah,
period?
because it makes me think. I'm like, the fact that he said that, it makes me wonder how long he's believed that. I mean, I feel like as a black man, you probably have known that or believed that your whole life. That like we're really not good at this as humans, as trying to get along and be together with even just each other, and just like humans are not ready for integrating any other kind of species, let
Yeah,
alone somebody who is also our own species who just look a little different and
yeah.
talk a little different. So I was just like, that conversation left me feeling like, if you felt like this the whole time, what were we doing? Like, what are we doing?
That,
They have every right to be upset with you.
Yeah,
no,
I feel
that's
like. Oh,
immaterial.
go ahead.
Remember, the original plan was for Carol Danvers and Nick Fury to scour the galaxies and find them a home, not rehome them here on Earth. That was never the plan. That was a promise he had made before when they were at the end of Captain Marvel.
Okay.
So if he
And they
was,
reference
they
in the
told him
first
y'all can come
episode.
settle here and then reneged on it, but I don't think that's what happened.
Okay.
Go ahead,
I
Jordan.
mean, Talos took what is it? Took an inch. He took a
Yeah.
mile, I guess. On that, he's like, "Hey, we
But
got
to
a
be
million."
fair, though, he kind of does have an
He
out
had to though.
the snap thing.
And that's why it was an interesting scene because like they were both. I mean, Nick very surprised is justified, but also Talos' decision making was very logical. Like, and then him asking you kind of like, "Wouldn't you do the same?" But it's like that's the truth. Like, Nick
He
wasn't
respected
around.
that.
You got to save his. You know, he's trying. Talos is trying to be a good leader and save his people. And at least they can literally blend in, so you
Yeah.
wouldn't know. But
Well,
I
Nick
think
Fury
that in a
matrixed that
way,
question.
what you say?
He matrixed that question. What would you have done? This ain't about me. This is about you.
This ain't about me. But I feel like he was. I feel like for in a way, he might have had Nick might have had this sort of idealistic or just very optimistic situation of like, oh, they're not all gonna be here because that just wouldn't work, and like we'll just help them out and continue on with this kind of I don't want to say lie because it doesn't feel right, but this dream of like housing them and giving them a new land. But he had to be confronted with those emotions and those consequences and that train ride with the truth that
Yeah.
they're all here, all 1 million.
Yeah, I'm thinking everybody's kind of downplaying the severity of the snap, given that those that were snapped, there's a 5-year missing period of time where perhaps the scroll just gradually came. Because remember, the end of one of the Avengers movies, they're talking. They didn't know if it was Hulk, but another ship had crashed on Earth, and they're talking about that. That could have been one of the scroll ships that one of those big, I don't know, like a space jetliner or something, full of scroll refugees may have crashed. They didn't think it was the Quinjet with the Hulk, because I think that's the period where he leaves and ends up.
Which Marvel movie are you talking about?
One of the Avengers films, I think, or either that or Captain Marvel. They're talking about this. No, it couldn't have been Captain Marvel. It was after when they think the Quinjet with Hulk. Remember, because Hulk goes missing, and that's where he goes off to Thor Ragnarok. But it's not, obviously, it's not that Quinjet. Something crashes, and they go in search of this ship. That could have been one of the Skrull ships. But like I'm saying, this 5-year period, they could have come gradually over that 5 years.
They
Where
probably did.
Nick Fury is non-existent at this point, and like you said, Talos is doing what he needs to do for his people. Like, look, our stuff is destroyed. Nick Fury's gone currently, and he just catch you unaware when he's back. Like,
Also, did they know that he got snapped? Like we knew he got snapped as the audience, but like, do the people in that world did they know that he got snapped, or was he on? Did they just believe? Some people just believe, oh, he's on Saber.
no, Talos. Remember, Talos tells him you were snapped, you were gone, and I didn't believe you were coming back.
Yeah.
So he knows.
Oh, he knew. So yes, he knew.
He knew that he was gone. And then I know it's illogical, but he kicks Talos out the thing. Like, this man just covered for you.
There's not enough room on this train.
Right. I was like, what are
I
you
was dying
what is
laughing.
going on
He's
here?
upset, y'all. He's having a bad day.
But how's he
Nick is
gonna get? My
having a
thing is,
bad day.
okay, if
I
he
don't
had
even want to see you. Get out of my face. That's what he hit him with. Get out of my sight.
yeah, I think this is your stop. But my thing is, if you needed cover to get in, more than likely you needed cover to get in the train. You probably needed cover to get out the train. Now, how you going? You just your main source of cover is gone now. You let him go because
He had to wait till
to
the
get off the
guards
train.
walked by. He finessed it. He's Nick. He could
He's
do
too
it.
angry. He's like, whatever, man. I'll jump out the
Yeah.
window if I got to.
Yeah, it's
Right.
TV, so they don't even let us see how he finagles that getting off the train. We just don't even see him until much later. And we go to Maria Hill's body being delivered to her mom back in the States. All my military folks out there, I know that the mom is supposed to be a civilian, and we kind of always hinge and nitpick at uniform items being worn, and she's wearing an Eagle Globe and Anchor, which is the Marine Corps insignia. And for all y'all that don't know, anchors are always inboard, meaning she's got it on her left lapel. The anchor should be pointing to her heart, should not be pointing outwards away from her body. I know it's not a huge thing. And I'm thinking by now, I think they put stuff in that just so we can nitpick over it and have something to talk about. And it's not that the significance is not, that has nothing to do with the scene anyway, but it's something that people are going to notice.
They're not, I mean, technically, entertainment, they're not supposed to mimic military like identically. That it can't be spot on. I didn't hair on it. It's the truth.
Yeah, I don't know.
They have to distort it a little bit.
Have to mess the uniform, but I think that's why I know she's a civilian, so technically she doesn't have to be in uniform anyway.
Oh, that too.
So, but we get that scene, and you get Nick there, and it's kind of weird that they don't know. At least Rhodey initially is acting like he doesn't know where Nick is, but he just shows up where this body is being presented to the mother, and later on we hear he had to pull strings to get the body out of Russia. So yeah, that was kind of a weird one for me, and we see that Nick Fury takes responsibility for her death, and of course the mom grills him on that, like, no one's telling me where my daughter died. This is another time where they kind of brought a real aspect that happens into fictional work. It was interesting nugget here where we see Nick being guilted by the mom over the loss of her daughter, understandably so. What do you guys think about that scene?
A couple things. One thing was that I felt sad that like her death was real, and it made me disappointed because I just feel like she deserved a better death than that. But also as far as the scene itself, like her grilling him was appropriate. I feel like I'd be the same. I'd be like, ain't no way you're not about to tell me where she died. Like, at the very least, since you failed to keep her alive and she trusted you to do that, you can tell me where she died. Like, you can give me that, you know? And it sucks. It sucks, but he deserved it.
Yeah.
He deserved it.
Also, he can't tell her. He can't really tell her anything else, of course.
Yeah.
We got a mission to accomplish. We got a world to save.
Yeah, he can't really tell and divulge too much, because then they'd probably go crazy with that. We see the media is going crazy, running with the story about America attacking Moscow. Mm-hmm. And we end up meeting the Skrull Council, which was interesting.
That was crazy.
Yeah, some of them are at the state, some of them
really, Jocelyn.
That was crazy. Jocelyn?
Really, Jocelyn? Oh, no. Let's let Jocelyn explain how crazy that was, Jocelyn. It was crazy. Tell me. It was intense. It was very intense. Oh, man.
It was. It really was.
What you tell? I mean, it started off crazy when Gravik was like, if I don't come back in an hour, shoot the bodyguard. I'm like, yo. I wonder if he was Skrull or was he human? Like, dang.
No, he was Skrull. Everybody there was Skrull.
They would have to be, but I was like, dang. I'm like, okay, I like this Gravik guy.
Yeah, so that was kind of a wild scene. I like the positioning. You see the prime ministers, other heads of state.
The newscaster guy?
Yeah, the newscaster, like a pseudo Fox News dude that's there. You know what I'm saying? They put him up there. Another actor. But basically positions of power, because Gravik calls him out on, I see a man, you know, you sitting in the man's finery, sipping his wine, living the good life. You're not here in the fight. And he's silently making his move. And old boy is like, what about the Avengers? And he's like, you think I haven't thought about that? So we know he's got plans for that later. They don't.
Whatever that is, I don't even know. What kind of contingencies do you have?
They hit
I feel like something wild happened in the comic book. Didn't they have like a Skrull that was like taking everybody's powers?
He was name dropped earlier. Talos actually name drops Emperor Drogi or whatever in the comics. Has the thing called Super Skrulls, which is what they're alluding to in this episode. If you paid attention, they're alluding to
because giving them upgrades.
Super Skrulls. But yeah, he ends up getting made into the general, which is I guess would be like the fleet admiral or a 5-star general that only happens in time of war, that they get this special rank. So in peacetime, the one lady who's the prime minister, like in peacetime, it's democracy is fine, but in times of war, we need to streamline our chain of command. My boy gets made the general. Most of them submit and unmask to their and bow their heads, and one Shirley does not. Uh, is it me or did she not wait long enough to make a phone call? Like she was 2 seconds
I
out.
know.
I mean, I was waiting for her to get shot. I was like, anybody else would have killed her as soon as she left the building, but for some reason, Gravik was like, "I'll let you go," and
I
then she
thought
literally
something
did
when
pick
he
up
said
that
you're
phone.
free to leave, you won't be harmed. I was like, well, that's
Yeah, I was like, he gonna have to
definitely
kill her
ain't
eventually.
harmed.
He's gonna have to. He's gonna have to.
I don't
Yeah.
know, but now I have questions because I'm like, where are the real heads of state? You know,
In
like,
the pods.
They gotta be. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
They then snap them up, put them in little pods to take their
Ross
bodies.
has to be gone then. If that's the case, Ross has to be gone.
Yeah. So he gets a hero's welcome back at the camp. Shirley, like I mentioned, I think she called really quick to Talos, too quick. She wasn't even like the two bodyguards outside the building were standing there as she pulls out
he
her phone.
looked at her too. Like he looked
You
right
see you
at
making
her
phone
while she
calls.
was on the phone. I was like, girl, turn the corner at least. Go
It
2
would have been
blocks
funny if he'd have been like,
down.
you know, I'm gonna tell as soon as you turn around, right?
I'm snitching.
And then I'm thinking there's dissension in the ranks because you see Pagan go back once they get back to camp. Everybody's cheering Gravik on, and you see him talking with 2 other Skrull in the lab, and they're looking for special DNA. This is, I think, the plan that they're setting up and what he's thinking of in case the Avengers come through. Yeah, Emperor Drogon from the comics was the one that did I think the DNA snatching, where they had special ability, would actually steal the likeness of superheroes and some of their powers even. So I think that's what they're trying to do. And Gaia tries to follow. And who's she faking out, hiding behind that panel, peeking out like a cat?
Yeah,
I was just like, there's no way you not like they're not seeing you. Like they playing pretend like they don't see you. Clear because
everybody's in on it. I'm like, Gravik knows all.
Also, I'm like, there's no way there's not cameras in there. You like that she could at least duck down. Like
they have them old computers.
Yeah, so you see Pagan complaining that the DNA harvest was not there, so they didn't get the right DNA. Gaia knows something's up, and she immediately goes back and starts hunting around on the computer, and you see her flipping through files. You find the DNA.
They mentioned 3 names, right? Yep.
You have Groot, Cull Obsidian, who you know was one of Ebony Maw's people, the minions of Thanos.
That's who that was.
A Frost Beast from Jotunheim.
Yep.
The DNA, and some extremists, which you know from
was his name? Was his when they said Alexander Pierce? Were they referring to him? What was that character? Or was that
dude? No, that dude was from Hydra. He was the one that was secretly a part of Hydra that was in the Shield. That was.
I need to see his
Robert
face.
Redford played him.
Robert Redford?
Yeah. So yeah, they got DNA that they're trying to harvest to make Super Skrulls, basically, and that's going to be their answer in case the Avengers come back. Rhodey ends up having to cover for the mess with Nick Fury. I think that was hilarious when he was sitting there interviewing with the heads of state, and they're like, "Colonel Rhodes, why are you here? You're not a head of state." And he was like, "Yeah, because the president just don't jump and hop for anybody. France, Russia, all y'all. He don't come, and this ain't no damn evidence that I can trust." And when he turned around, it was like, Slovakia rolls her eyes at me one more time, I'm gonna put the suit on, the carpet dust. I was like, damn.
That was crazy. Yeah, he was talking crazy. I was like, yo, what's going on, Rhodey?
I mean, to be honest, if I was also a superhero and then had to go back and be in the government, I wouldn't have no time for nobody. I'm like, I fought aliens for the world. I'm not hearing nothing y'all got to say to me. I'm not dealing with y'all. I'm not fooling with y'all folk. We gonna move when we move. That's what it is. Okay.
Yeah, so we see that there's dissension in the ranks, even within the scroll, both with the scroll council and even with the revolutionary scroll that's a part of the movement that want home in their own skin. They're not agreeing on everything because oh boys, like our fearless leader's not always right because he haven't found whatever it was, the DNA harvesting they were looking for. Um, and then it was this was a strong scene where we see Rhodey and Nick Fury have a sit down and have some real, like basically a real talk session. They have a come to Jesus moment. We're sitting down, we're going to sip some bourbon, and Nick Fury ends up being fired. He tries to play the help a brother out card, and that is
That was crazy.
summarily
This show, that was
denied.
frustrating me. That was frustrating. That whole entire scene was frustrating. I'm like, bro, Don Cheadle is a coon. And I'm not happy about this, but he is for the man and he's not siding with him. And I'm like, this sucks. And then that whole conversation about what he's just is about just black people trying to be excellent and getting to that point of success. So being an example.
But the funny thing is, both of them have valid points. He's basically like, we're not going to usurp power and position from mediocre men who don't look like us, only to hand it down to another mediocre man who does look like us. And basically he's saying, on this stance, I'm not compromising. And part of that not compromising is me having to sit down and dress down a man that I highly admire, who we share ancestry and we share a work relationship over the years. Like, he's like, I can't give you a pass with nothing to really fall back on. And you won't let me call he won't let me call no backup. And the only one that can solve this problem is you. I can't go back to the office and tell them, oh yeah, don't worry about it. We got this covered.
It was such a tough conversation because, like, he was right. Like, it'd be different if, like, Nick Fury could like prove that, like, I didn't actually, like, I did not start this conflict with Russia. We're being set up like this, like, if he could sit down, truly lay it out, but he don't have all the cards yet, you know? So the conversation sucked, but I understood Rose's point of view because he's just like, what we have here is that now we're in conflict with Russia, and that is a big problem. No one wants to be in conflict with Russia.
Of course.
Okay.
His logic made sense. I'm not arguing that. It's just, damn, you gonna leave my man's hanging. He's a good guy in this, but he don't know that.
I mean,
this is a weird situation because I feel like both of them were right.
Yeah.
They are both right. That's true.
Yeah. Like, Nick Fury is like, you know that all the time we've worked together and that you've known me, like, I make good on what I say I'm going to make good on. I always figure it out. I'm always 10 steps ahead. And you know that about me. Like, you could, and his whole point of view is that you could stand to have some good faith in me even now, even when the cards look terrible. You could stand to have some good faith in me. And Rose is like, I really can't. Like, he's just like, I'm the one who has to stave it off, like, in real time, like, in the actual government. You're the special ops, basically, that is not on the news, that doesn't have to sit on these councils, like, I'm the one who has to face all these government officials and be like, no, we're not actually at war, or just, I'm not talking to y'all till we figure it out. He's the one who actually has to delay the actual conflict, on the news in front of the whole world, be the representative to say, like, y'all, everyone chill out, so.
He basically said, I played on my political cachet getting the body back for Maria Hill. And so I have no more trap cards left to play on your behalf. I'm sorry, I'm out. I'm fresh out.
It's tough.
There's theories floating around that they think Rhodey's a Skrull himself.
Yeah, I do too. I believe it. I'm waiting for it. And I feel like if that's the
case, is that damn British MI6 agent
Sonya. No, let her be human.
I mean, for real, like she.
But which side? Wait, so she would be considered?
She's got the red dress on. The British
no. Yeah, no. Do you think that if she's a Skrull, would she be a part of Gravik's group, or would she just be a free agent? I guess.
She might be a free agent doing her own thing, like running her own game. Like she might be like, none of y'all know what the hell y'all doing, and I'm securing stuff for us on my own. Like she knew how to get into the interrogation place, picked the lock, just walked in all willy nilly,
I
and
mean, she's
then
that dope of of
demanded
a.
them to let her in. And she knew Homeboy was a scroll. Like cut my man's fingers off, waited for it to turn green, and it was like, oh, now that that's over with, let's play. And
That also made me question because I'm like, do scrolls not bleed? Like she cut off his finger, but when they cut back to the his hand with the finger cut off, I was expecting him to still be bleeding out. And maybe it's just because it's like Disney Marvel that they're not gonna show
it's
him
brief.
Flirt.
There's little purple goo coming off.
Yeah, they. What color? I was like, what color they even bleed? Is it
It was
purple?
like black or purple blood on the
Okay.
green finger, and then it's red on his hand as he's sitting there. But she gets in there before the scrolls can rescue Brogan. And I'm tripping. Where did Gaia go? Because she leaves the car. Remember, old boy Gravik tells her, "Stay in the car."
Oh yeah, I thought
Well,
she was
the
gonna
black
go
guy was in the
inside
car.
or something,
Yeah,
and then we
It
just
was like
don't.
an
she
alley,
walks around
right?
the back and then makes a phone call, starts speaking in Russian, and then when they cut back, she's in the driver's seat again when they get in the car and leave. Yeah, and you can notice during that fight scene where the scroll break in, there's
Fire.
minimal blood. There's a little bit of blood when Homeboy is about to chop the sausage. He gets domed right there at the front door, which was hilarious because you see one of the scroll grab the bell over
That
the
was awesome. I
door,
like that. So you wouldn't hear him
but
coming.
my man just crashed into the shells. Like his head
He
flat.
probably dropped some sausage. Somebody,
That sausage was
he
heavy.
dropped a. He just dropped something. They came and lit him up with the flash grenades. I was like, get
Yeah,
him.
so they start shooting up people, and meanwhile, Brogan, with his blood boiling at 160 degrees.
I don't know how they made that. That's not like an interesting
That's why
chemical
I'm
to
also
have.
thinking she's a scroll. Like
What?
she wasn't worried. She
I don't
knew.
trust her. I got a nagging suspicion. I
She
don't
knew
trust her.
Homeboy was a scroll because he was talking big trash. Like I'm finna break out these chains and I'm about to break every bone in your body. I'm like, well, what happened to all that talking when all the homeboys was up in here? Why don't you just do that then? If that's what you could
He could
do,
have been did that.
you could have been did that.
I
Yeah,
was
she's just
also
sitting there calmly interrogating him, getting all the info, and then just Mary Poppins down the little escape chute, and she's out.
and
Like,
she didn't even. It bothered me that she didn't close the chute. I mean,
They didn't close it?
I
She
understood
didn't have
that
to.
like you kind of need the like if it was just for shot purposes and they just needed the light on her so it would be clear and it's a good shot, fine. But I'm like,
yeah, it
I
was too much of
don't
a clue. And also, why did nobody go after her? Like,
Because
obviously,
they.
somebody walked out the room.
So here's my thing. Gravik didn't care about any of that. He was reclaiming the asset that they needed to take out.
Yeah.
And I don't when that lady, I my belief she's just she's human and
A good agent.
she's
That's
just a
it.
good agent and she loves hunt and scroll. Like she's racist. She just wants to hunt scroll and she like is interested in trying to stop them. And she can get in and out of any situation clearly. So
would is she in forgive me if I just like missed this. Is she in opposition to Nick Fury or is
She's
she
no,
just
she's MI6. She's basically the British agent.
okay?
So
So
Nick Fury was once
they're
upon
kind
a
of in
time he was in the
opposition though.
army. He was with the CIA. He was with Shield, and now he's with Saber. She's with MI6.
gotcha.
She works for the supposedly works for the UK. I think she's Skrull, but she's just getting around a little too easy.
Gotcha. Because it made me think. I'm like, I mean, I know they had that conversation in the first episode where she was just like, "You're old, you're tired, get out of here,"
Yeah.
And now she,
You're washed.
yeah, right. And now she's just kind of proving it, like, like maybe she's just like, I don't know if she's actively trying to ice him out, like trying to get Nick Fury out of here, but just that she's like, listen, this is the conflict, and I know what to do actually to stop it. So maybe that's just what time she's on. But also, the car ride. I'm jumping a little bit, but like that car ride when they took the dude who was tortured, and then they drove away, and then took him out the car and basically executed him. Why did they wait? Like, why did they do it there? Why didn't they just finish it.
They could have did it in the
It
room.
looked like
Yeah.
they drove out in the middle of the woods somewhere. They didn't want
I
to
guess
drop
they
it
were
off
just.
in the city.
Oh
They
yeah, because they can't just have a scroll dead body laying around. That
Yeah, they
actually
drove
makes
him off in
sense.
the
They
woods
can't.
somewhere because
Yeah, they
homie was
can't.
like,
I
"Are
didn't think
we
about
home
that.
yet?" And Pagan was like, "Almost, brother. Come on out the car."
Come on, buddy.
And they were whispering in the car like, "Okay, how'd they know about the safe house?" And then the old boy started choking like, "Oh, how'd they know about the safe house?" I was like, "Oh, it's like they pinned it on him." And I was
Oh, buddy.
wondering if perhaps that's who Gaia called and told somebody about the safe house, but to put a further wedge between Gravik and Pagan. But I don't know if that's what happened because I don't know what they said, what you were saying in Russian. Meanwhile, before that, Brogan gave up the goods. He told her, that they were making a machine to make them stronger. He gave up the names of
The
a
Daltons or
married couple, Dalton.
No.
Um, which I guess ain't nobody got no password on the computer because Gaia pulled up Rosa Dalton's stuff and started looking through files when Gravix interrupted her. Like, what you doing here?
That
Nothing.
computer also took
It's
me out. Like the
it
computer
was
itself took me out.
what
Like
the old computer, the
yes,
old joint, the OG
yes,
computer. They had to be remember where it is physically. They couldn't get new tech.
Yeah, they're in Chernobyl or
Yeah,
something.
basically.
Chernobyl
Yeah,
like
basically.
Chernobyl. So that everything, all the technology would have been from back in the
Yeah,
80s.
I really enjoyed that. That was really cool little like detail. It made sense. I was like, this is cool.
Yeah. So
fair
we
enough,
get
fair enough. It
yeah.
just cracked me up because it's just like they're doing all this espionage stuff,
She
and it's
can't close the browser. You can't. She couldn't be in incognito mode. He can't. It's just there for him to see. He just got to just move forward and look like, oh,
Yeah, to be fair, funny enough, I think she flipped to another file a little too quickly for me too. If we're gonna go with the old school computers, and she just all of a sudden on the new recruit, the brother that they just picked up that had the little funny hat in the first episode, all of a sudden his file was up there when she was just looking at Rosa Dalton and then everybody's DNA that they have collected, and Gravix just shows up. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. And then at the end, you see, of course, Nick Fury getting away from dude was hilarious. He basically beat up the security agent
oh, I
dude.
love that. Love that.
That's one of my famous line is even when I'm out, I'm in. Like you can't fire me. I'm not giving up my DNA. I'm not gonna submit. I'm out. And I'm surprised Brody just let him walk out.
Yeah.
Anytime that's been the time you put the
I
suit on.
I was actually like, when you remember he sits down, he's like breathing heavy. I'm like, I can't tell if this like Nick is just so upset or he's physically tired. Like it's all these things happening. Like
I felt for him
I
after.
really felt it.
I
Yeah,
Like
honestly thought they spiked the bourbon. No, like
I mean it's valid. That's valid. I just thought
I
that
think they
like
spiked the bourbon. Yes.
that's valid, but I took it as like Nick Fury is in some shit, and
yeah,
Yep.
he don't got it like he needs to have it right now, and he is stressed.
yeah.
So
The
but
gravity of the situation caught up to him. But I honestly, when he sat down on that little park bench and put his hands in his head and was breathing heavy and leaned back, I was like, oh, they done got him. They done slipped the Nick in his
They
drink,
drugged him. They're gonna
and now
kidnap
the
him.
other agent is going to pick him up and put him in a truck. But that's not what happened. You see him at the end. He gets and walks into some mini Quonset hut, picks up this spare Land Rover that he just had stashed somewhere
that'd
in
be too
London
cold
and
blooded.
drives to the crib.
Cold-blooded.
And I'm not sure if I said this live last time when
What
we
did he
were
say? Repeat it.
talking. I thought that Nick Fury was tipping and dipping with the Skrulls, and I wanted it to be like a really funny reveal. I know like I said, he's not old enough, or actually, Gravik is too old to be Nick's son. But it would have been hilarious if Gravik was like his illegitimate Skrull baby, and now that's really why he's mad. But that's not the case. But I think we see Vara, who introduced him to Gravik as a Skrull in the beginning of the episode, the flashback scene. We see her as Nick is driving around and walking down the street. She's chopping up vegetables in this house, still as a Skrull. And it's not a reveal till you see him walk to the door, and the person is still dressed in the clothes we saw the Skrull, but now she looks like a black lady. And we find out that Mr. Nick Fury has a
Nicholas.
wife
Nicholas.
Because, like I said, he's been tipping and dipping in the green booty up in space.
He got okay. So I compare this. You know those the matcha green Kit Kats.
Yeah.
That's what he's into. That's what he's into. That's what he's
The
into.
ones
I'm
you can
so
only get
happy.
in Japan.
So happy. Yes, that's what he's into. Oh man, that was beautiful. We haven't gotten older black love in a while in a Marvel movie. This might be the first time. We usually got like T'Challa. We had T'Challa and
Well,
Okoye
it's
or
kind of a
T'Challa.
black and green swirl right now, really.
True, but she chose chocolate, which is interesting. She didn't have to. She didn't
No,
have to.
I wonder.
Beautiful.
I'm very. I have questions about that.
Chocolate's like I have questions.
I have questions about that because I'm just like, all right, when she assimilated, is the first thing that she decided to assimilate to a black woman, or did that come later? Like, did Nick Fury ask her to be a black lady because that's out of control?
He'd
That's
be like, I don't want to see you.
that's out of control. I sure
That's
hope not.
toxic. That's toxic.
I
That would
sure
be
hope
so
not.
bad.
I'm
I
like,
hope not
Nick
either.
Fury, get out of here.
He's like, I don't want no
Like,
green
get out
skin.
of
I
here.
want chocolate. You gotta look different in front of me.
And then I'm
Does
also
any-
like, what is her life like? Who does she walk among? Did she live her life as a black lady? Like, what does that mean? Like, what are the implications of that? She's an alien, but she's living her life as a black lady. Is she? What does that mean? And then what does Nick Fury understand about that? You know, because he's going home to her, and I'm like, what do y'all really have in common, guys? What's going on?
She's like, I've only been a black woman for like 15, like 25 years.
Look, I know what
Like,
you're
that's
going
enough.
through writ large. It's bigger than just skin color. You know what I'm saying?
But
Wait till you
also, her people were oppressed. They were oppressed
by the
and
creed.
ostracized by the creed. So they kind of there's a commonality in a black experience. I'm not going to say the monolith in a black experience.
Yeah, I'm curious if they have like a natural racial makeup when they turn human, or is it randomized? Or, you know what I'm saying? Because Taylor seems to turn into the same person every time until he chooses not to. You know, because he showed up as a Russian lady in this one.
Yeah,
and
Russian
he was a
white
Russian
lady.
dude at the beginning of the episode. So they can at will. And we saw in Captain Marvel they could pretty much look like whoever they want to look like.
But
So
she chose.
I don't know if there's any predisposition for her. She just chose black, but it was interesting. And then she punks him and makes him put the ring on. Like,
That was great. I was so happy. You forgot something. Man, walk
yeah,
up, fix it
you
up.
got one problem. You missing something. Go put that ring back on, boy.
Get some of these lips.
Yeah.
So happy. I hope she don't die. I'm be really
Get some of this
upset. If
green,
she
'cause-
dies, I'm gonna be really pissed off. Just remember that.
Now I'm
Really
just like,
upset.
when did they get married? Like, what?
We'll get those answers. That's the point of the TV show. We'll hopefully get that answer.
Because we do get a flashback to one of the Captain America films when Cap asked him, because he tells Cap that he's married
Oh.
in the flashback scene, and then Cap is like, I didn't even think you had a wife. There's a lot you didn't know about me. He does
I
tell him.
forgot about. Oh my god! Wait, are we talking about like the Captain America movie where like they wake up Cap in the feet when Nick's talking to Cap
I think
in the
it's during
present
Winter
day?
Soldier when they're hunting them down. And they're
Oh, wow,
they're in
that's
like an
so
apartment
funny.
after fighting because Nick is kind of bleeding, and they get to a
Mhm.
point where they can just sit down and rest and talk a little bit. And yeah, he's like, yeah, my wife. And he's like, you have a wife?
I forgot about that. That happened so long ago. I forgot about that line.
I think they didn't have a piece of that in this.
What do you?
Did it
They didn't. I mean, no. This was that reveal. This is the
I
reveal.
I
This was
wouldn't
that reveal.
have remembered that.
Exactly.
Said that.
I wouldn't remember that detail either. So it's cool that they had that marinating in the universe for us to
Yeah.
finally get that answer today
Yeah.
or
Lord
yesterday.
I
Or what
just
she's
So we still enjoying this, obviously. I think, and what the
course.
world is talking, it looks like we are.
Of course.
I'm interested. I don't know where it's gonna go. You know, I've how many episodes?
6.
6?
Supposed to be 6 episodes.
All
Yeah,
right.
4 more.
I don't know. I have no idea what's gonna happen. I don't know what we're gonna end up with. Because usually, you know, like with these shows, you know, they're like with most of the Marvel Disney shows, they've been like origin story shows, and you know the point of them and how, you know, generally how they're gonna end up.
Mhm.
but like with this one, I have no idea. Like we already know who Nick Fury is. We know who the
Yeah.
Skrulls are, but we don't know. Like we know that they want war, but they're gonna lose, I guess. But
Yeah, I'm assuming so. I'm interested to see how they're gonna pull that off without calling in the Avengers. How are they
I
gonna
have a
vanquish
feeling.
them?
I don't know if this is going to be a thing because I feel like no one's been talking about them really yet. But I wonder if the Eternals are going to be made mention of. Like,
Doubtful.
I don't know. Maybe they're not. They don't need to be a part of this conflict. But
They're gonna throw
They seem to
Eternals
hint, they seem to hint
under the
around. If
bus.
you notice, they seem to hint around things in these shows, like with Falcon and Winter
Yeah.
Soldier. Like the major players aren't really pulled in. They leave, what we get is what we get right now. So,
okay,
You know what's crazy?
and I think they're making note that the Avengers are, of course, are every time they're mentioned, that suggestion is batted away. Um, how about we just call our friends? Nah, we can't do that. We can't bring them in here. Then they got the Skrulls against the Avengers. We're not doing that.
yeah, I
You
guess
know what?
so because I think they're still like rebuilding a new team. Like the new team is supposed to like
That may be part of it too.
right. We're gonna get the Marvels, and then that's gonna happen. We don't got a squad yet. We don't have the Avengers as they were at
Which
this.
is funny because I think the Marvels take place after Secret Invasion, correct? If I'm not wrong,
I think so.
in the
I hope
timeline.
so. I hope so.
And then also because like you know, you had brought up the last episode that in the trailer for the Marvels, Kamala Khan gets like transported to the ship. And so like do we end up back on the ship after Secret Invasion?
Yeah,
So
because I mean,
I hope
yeah,
so.
if
I'm
it if
hoping.
it takes place after in the timeline, then we're going to see Nick Fury reestablished as the head of Saber up in that space station.
Yep.
Unless, of course, that's the Skrull acting like Nick Fury.
that's what I
Everybody's
don't
a
know what's
scroll.
gonna happen. Like I
Everyone's
don't
a scroll.
know where we're gonna end up with this. So
More people are gonna die. That's all I know. That's
Yeah,
all I know. People are gonna die.
I do. It's interesting with the show. Like, I mean, of course, yeah, they're shapeshifters, but I kind of like the idea that these aliens are actually abducting people and then taking on.
Got
Like,
to.
yeah, like it's literally just these aliens are like literally abducting people.
Invasion of the body snatchers.
Right.
I'm just waiting on the real Agent Fury to please stand up. If we're not calling him back up, then we need some badassery to come up out of Nick.
We need
Besides
somebody.
assaulting the agent, because we're not calling in the other players. He's been kind of the orchestrator for the longest time throughout these movies. He's get like one or two cool moves. He's got a cool ass line that he drops on you real quick, and then he's back to being in the shadows. But if we're not going to call in what we perceive to be the A team from the MCU, then he's going to have to step up to the plate himself and start doing it.
I
Janelle,
think.
what's going on?
Hey.
I think Captain Marvel might make an appearance in the show.
That would
I
make
would
sense.
rather that happen because they still see now that needs to happen because it's unfortunate that now because of money and actors and they're human beings we can't just get Doctor Strange or Chris Evans showing up as Cap in smaller
Do
shows
you really
because they
want
don't want to. What'd you say? Do I
you
want
really
that?
want
Yes. I mean, it's a nice cameo. Why not? The only reason why it doesn't happen is because of money and conflicts. In a
Well,
perfect world, in a
I don't
comic
think
book, in a comic book, they'll be like, hey, like Captain America might walk in through a shot, or they'll like feature him in an off story. But it sucks that they have to from a writing perspective, they have to literally write this into a story and write their way around it,
Yeah.
so people aren't left being like, well, why didn't such and such show up? And it was like, well, because we had, because he's off road doing this, and then it'd be another thing to actually show that. When somebody's gone, just give me a random scene of the Hulk off world fighting people, so I know that happened, and then cut back to the rest of the world or rest of the story that we're watching, and just don't address it. Just give me
I
something fun.
I think it's more to focus on these side stories and side characters more than the main troop of players we usually get. Same thing with Falcon and Winter Soldier. It's like everybody didn't show up. You got a couple of the door that came up, but it wasn't the main Dora Milaje that popped up all the
Which I
time.
was fine with.
Yeah,
I'll take this.
you know what
I'll
I'm
take
saying.
that.
Then we went to like Madrigal and saw other side characters. We got Zemo, but it wasn't the main big bads. It wasn't the main players that we usually see. So I think they're using these TV shows to spotlight like the ground level stuff, which they had already done before Disney owned it. I think that's what Agents of Shield was supposed to be, and everybody was
That
like,
was a
"How
good
is it gonna
show,
work?"
actually.
We don't really have all the big name people. They keep, like you said, Jocelyn. They were talking around the Avengers. We had this big event in New York. They kept talking about, which we all know were the Avengers, but we're not getting the Avengers level heroes and villains. It was all these like side characters, and we got the B sides basically showing up and doing their thing,
Yeah.
and having a little puzzle piece that kind of fits into the lore of the mainline films.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
see that, but go
I,
ahead,
def-
Johnson.
I definitely feel like this show is probably going to introduce somebody new. I mean, aside from like the scroll like villain that you guys were talking about, I think another hero. Hello. I think another hero is going to be introduced. Um, I think somebody's going to be introduced. Like Nick Fury is going to have to call in somebody else for help because I think he's really struggling right now.
He needs to call in a superpowered person. I can't. This is going to be frustrating, and because I
It'll be
feel like
interesting. What if he'd be like, "That wasn't my only friends. I have more."
that. Yeah, say that. I got more friends. Only friend. That's what I need to happen because like I've had conversations with my dad about like a lot of the Disney Plus shows, and he's the type of person who's really irritated where like why didn't Doctor Strange show up in like WandaVision, and I'm like, that would have been cool. And like I think that those moments, like if they wait till the last episode to like bring Captain Marvel or bring in like a heavy hitter, that would for me that really kind of raises the bar of like just experiencing the story in the TV show. It's like, all right, you can give me a solid story, and if we get to the end, when we get to the end, you like drop in like somebody superpowered that we know. I'm like, dope. That was awesome.
What
Like
about, didn't
icing
they
on the
just
cake.
get the rights back? I'm not sure, to Fantastic Four,
That would be crazy too.
which
I
have a
would. I mean,
connection to the
They're
Scrolls.
they had
already
what's this? They're
in
already back.
they're already in the timeline of stuff coming out. So
Right. So they're already back. So it's kind of
And I'm
like
saying because they were a few of the
that
people
would be
that were
fire.
initially imitated by the scroll
Yep.
in the Secret Invasion from the comics. So that would make sense to pull them in. It would be timely too.
They
I
should do
wonder.
that.
No, this is about to be a reach. I was like, I wonder if they're gonna do some multiverse stuff, bring somebody in from somewhere else.
Oh my goodness.
But I don't think it doesn't make sense to do it. I feel like if you're gonna do multiverse stuff, you have to talk about the multiverse in the first episode or something. So
I think I'm multiversed out, everybody.
You
I
I
know,
on record
understand.
and say
No,
that. It's been a
yeah.
good 3-4 years of just multiverse stories. Ugh.
I
we'll see
agree.
what they do. We got 4 more episodes to see how they wrap this up. How Nick Fury, because I think we all know he doesn't stay down for long, and he's going to be back in the loop by the time this thing ends. I'm interested to see how they rectify things, who they pull in to help. If they pull anybody, like I said, maybe Nick gets his old thing back and just becomes that secret agent he's supposed to be and starts doing what he needs to do and outwits everyone, and we just don't see it coming. He's still picking and choosing when to wear those glasses that he had the infrared sight on. I was wondering if he was on the train, if he was using them on Talos to see if he could see his heart rate speeding up to see if he was lying or something, or just, I
Right.
don't know. We'll see.
Question. I mean, and we may have already answered this. So, like Nick Fury's wife, does he? Because she was a scroll when she was first on the screen, and then when Nick comes in the house, she's human. Does
Yeah,
he
Yeah.
know that she's a scroll?
Yes.
I think
He has to.
so.
He has to.
That
He
would that,
has. That would be interesting
that
if
would be
she
interesting if he
honey.
doesn't know that she's a scroll. That'd be
What?
hilarious. If he has no idea, and
Oh
that's
my
why
God.
as soon as his key hit the door,
She
he
knew to
changed to the
transform.
platform. Like,
Wait a
oh wait,
second, Jocelyn. You might be on. Oh my God, Jocelyn. You figured it out. That makes a lot of sense. And do we see, or I need to listen to that voice, that actress, because I want to know if we see her. So you remember he was talking to a woman in the beginning. What was her name? That was a
That was
scroll.
Vara.
That was Bara.
Yeah.
Did Var have the same? That was the same
Same
person we saw in
voice.
the final.
Same
Okay.
voice, and the height is according to the IMDb, the height's the exact same for the actress because she's listed.
He knows. He has to know.
You think he knows?
I mean,
Wouldn't that be
even if
hilarious
he's
though if he doesn't know? He's married
that
to a
would be
girl and has
ridiculous.
no clue.
Be like, there's no room in this house. It's gonna be like, there's no room in this house anymore. You gotta leave. No, I'll leave.
Yeah. Well, thank y'all for chopping it up with me about these things. It's been an interesting ride. Like I said, we got 4 more episodes to go. Janelle, thanks for hopping in live with us. There's one more lurker. I'm not sure who the other person is, but thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to us talk about these things. We appreciate it. There will be links in the description of the episode to all of our websites. You want to check out my books, Jordan's comics, his art, and Jocelyn's art as well. We will talk to you all next week.
Peace.